Welcome to Unadilla for Round 8 of the AMA 250cc Outdoor Motocross Series.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan, along with former motocross champion David Bailey. And David, what can I say? Jeremy keeps racking up those wins and rolling up the points.
Well, he does. He's been pretty clever about it. He's ridden pretty consistent. And, you know, last year he didn't have the conditioning. A lot of people didn't think he really cared that much about the outdoors. Well, this year he obviously does. And after a convincing win last week and some of the worst heat we've seen all year, he's silenced a lot of those critics.
Well, what about Jeff Emming? Here is a rider who's doing everything he can. He's winning motos. He's picking up points, yet he's in second place.
Right. Well, I think Jeremy just has a little extra, and also a year of experience in the 250s under his belt. We've got to remember that Emming, this is his first season, and he's sitting in a place where if anything happens to Jeremy, he could win a championship.
Well, Unadilla, of course, one of the roughest circuits that they ride on. How tough is it?
It's pretty tough, and unlike when I used to ride here, the grass is gone because the amateurs have already ridden on the track, so it's twice as rough before they even get out there and the rocks are exposed, so it's going to be tough.
Well, take us through the track now, David.
One thing I always liked about Unadilla is the track is really wide everywhere. Lots of lines to choose from. Kind of a neat starting line here, too, where it's all grass. They kind of go down, back up into the first corner. A lot of rocks here, though.
For more on that, here's Art.
Out here, the mechanics pit area looks like a tire store, and it looks like they brought the entire store. And basically, this is the reason. One of the characteristics of this grand old Unadilla track, rocks upon rocks upon rocks. And the teams are taking special precautions not to get flat tires. Many are double tubing their tires, but a few are going for a brand new system from Dunlop.
We've developed a system that's called a crescent mousse. It actually takes a small inner tube with foam. The foam gives the protection to the inner tube and keeps you from getting a flat. The foam also provides a little bit more cushion out there on the rocks, which tends to give them better traction. Jeremy and some of the other riders have been developing this for us for actually 2 years now, and we're just ready to get it on the market. Nice thing about this system is as the track conditions change, you can adjust your air pressure to get the rider more comfortable with that particular situation. Like as it dries out, we'll be going to more air pressure because the pace will quicken up, get a little faster, they start hitting things a little bit harder, and you need a little bit more protection there.
Jeremy looking for every possible advantage here today. Gentlemen?
Well, thank you, Art. There you see Jeremy McGrath, the current points leader, leading Jeff Emming by 18 as we head into this. Jeremy with 4 overall victories on the season. And what are they doing right there at this last minute at the line, David?
It looks like they're topping off the gas tank, just making sure he's got enough fuel. And right there, Jeff Emming doesn't have a motorcycle to ride.
I wonder what's going on there.
I don't know. You can see there's a little bit of rain starting to come down. That's the reason for the umbrellas, of course. And possibly just started. Maybe he wants to choose a different tire, or it could be anything, but I'm assuming that's what it would be.
Maybe a final suspension adjustment, or is that something you could do on the line?
No, you can't do anything like that. I would be inclined to think that he's going to go with a different tire. You can see the rain right there coming down pretty hard now. It's sideways, a little wind involved. Probably a tire.
And you can also see the hand guards that a lot of the competitors were in, especially Mike Kadraus. Remember last year his run for the championship was ended when he was roosted by a rock and knocked himself out for quite a while. We are getting set for the start of Moto number 1 here at Unadilla, and we'll be back with that right after this. Welcome back to the Ford Motor Company AMA 250cc Motocross at Unadilla. John Kernan, David Bailey, and Art Ekman getting ready. The signboard goes down. One mention, Greg Albertine, the 3-time world champion, not on the line. He broke a bone in his wrist at Troy, and the gate is down, and there they go. Coming around the first turn, looks like Jeremy McGrath, who's out in front. Look at Larry Ward on the outside. Mike Jones also in there. Jeff Emming off to a clean start as everybody makes it around the first turn. But look at this, David. Ward quickly on the first lap gets around Jeremy, but Jeremy says he wants it back. They get together. McGrath goes down, and Ward scoots out into the lead. Boy, what a mess right there as you see the riders, even Damon Bradshaw having problems negotiating that hay bale. And look at Jeremy. He's all the way back, probably 38th or 39th. He has a long way to go to ride his way back to the front spot.
Well, we mentioned before, John, and whenever it's raining, vision's always a problem, and right now he's dead last. So you can guarantee he's going to be having a face full of mud, and you can see the concern on his mechanic's face right there.
Well, he's already catching a little bit back up to the pack as he's admired well far back. But there's a look at your leader, Larry Ward, and look at Jeff Emming, second in the points coming in here. He was trailing McGrath by 18, and right now, if this race ended, he would pick up a bunch. In fact, he would actually take over the points lead. But there's still 30 minutes to go in this moto, plus 2 laps. So McGrath has plenty of time to work his way back toward the front.
Well, also, he couldn't have picked a better place to get a bad start, because you can see how wide the track is and the choice of wide variety of lines right there. He should be able to work his way up well into the top 15, probably in the first lap. And it'd be tough to catch the leaders, but on a track like this, anything's possible.
There you see in the 3rd place with John Dowd. Let's take another look at that start.
Well, it looks like Jeremy's got the whole shot nice and clean right here, but Larry Ward's going to go out and take it. He just threads the needle between Mike Jones and those fence stakes right there. Carries more speed around that big sweeper and takes the inside line. And right here, looks like he goes over the berm, and Jeremy tries to find an opening, but
no opening there, is
yeah,
there?
It closed right back off, caught him by surprise, and he hit his back tire on high side. And it looks like right there Mike Jones could have just about run over Jeremy's hand. So he's lucky to escape that without any kind of a worse incident.
Well, look at Jeremy mired back in the field, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's already made up, what, about 15, 20 spots. That's pretty amazing.
Well, Jeremy's obviously capable of running a much faster pace in these back markers, and like I said, because of the different lines, you see he's able to go pretty much anywhere he wants to on the racetrack and carrying the kind of speed he can.
Oh, and there's a bike down. It looks like, is that Damon Bradshaw? Also another rider, also down, and as soon as he turns it, well, that's Jeff Domenez down and Bradshaw. Man, Bradshaw has had tough going since coming back. Not exactly sure what precipitated that, but Bradshaw still having problems getting his bike going again. It looks like, is he just going to push it off to the side? Well, it looks like maybe the clutch lever bent. He's got to bend that back into place.
Well, it's been a pretty tough season, like you said, John, for Damon. I mean, he's got the speed to go up and run with these guys, but when he gets a good start, he goes down, and the rest of the time he's not getting good starts. He's always got to come from behind.
John Dowd off to a pretty good start. He's in 3rd. Kedrowski is in 4th. Kedrowski trying to chase him down. And don't you know, Mike would love to finish out the rest of this season on a very strong note. He won the 2nd Outdoor National of the Year out at Hangtown, but his record so far this year hasn't been what he would like. He tries to move on the outside around Dowd, but the rear wheel slips out a little bit from underneath him, and he didn't get the bite that he needed to make that drive.
Right, well, it's tough to find a good line. When you get down past that loam, you get onto that rocky surface, and it's actually really slick. Right there, you get a shot of Jeff Emig running up in front of these guys. But Larry Ward has finally gotten a good start, and he's taking advantage of it right now. He's just not even on our screen.
Well, Larry Ward, best finish this year in the outdoors, been a 5th at Gainesville. Now, he was mired back in like the 9th, all the way back to 17th at Mount Morris. But Troy, he was up in the 6th, so he is off to a really good start for this moto, but it's getting late in the season. But John Dowd trying to chase him down. Now we get back up front to Ward. And speaking of chasing him down, look at Jeff Emig. He has closed the gap. Remember the last time? Oh, look at the rear wheel wash out and around. That's pretty tough to make up time when you're getting knocked around like that, isn't it, David?
Well, you can expect that on a racetrack like this. It's probably the roughest racetrack there is. I mean, Southwick is rough in terms just because of the sand and those whoop-de-doos, but here the bumps aren't consistent. You got some round ones, you got some sharp ones, you got rocks in there. It's real challenging, and right there you can just see how out of shape you can get. These guys are aggressive. You can see they're going for it.
Well, Emmig's right now going for the lead, but he's going to have to find a way to get around Larry Ward. You know, a great crowd on hand here this weekend watching. Look at Emmig, is going on the outside right there. I guess a little bit smoother right there, but he still can't get the drive off the turn as they come back up the hill.
Well, as you start down that downhill, actually I remember the first time I ever came here, I couldn't believe the track actually went down that hill. You can't believe how steep it is. And just found a smoother line, find another smoother line right there, but he had to go wider, and Larry Ward takes it back.
Well, Ward getting back out in front, and look, John Dowd has now moved into this challenge for first place, and Mike Kedrowski is not too far behind. It's Ward, Emig, Dowd, Kedrowski almost running wheel to wheel. Look at this, man. It is really heated up, and we are just in the early stages as Emig once again tries to get around Larry Ward. It is Ward, Emig, Dowd, Kedrowski, LaRocco in the top 5 as you take a look at our top 10 on the Suzuki Field Summary. Back with more after this. ESPN Speedworld welcomes you back to New Berlin, New York, Unadilla, where we have a great battle up front for the lead. 4 riders in contention for the top spot, and there you see the 5th rider coming into play. That's the defending national champion, Mike LaRocco. But right now, Larry Ward is out front. Jeff Emig trying to find the line, but he's also got to worry about protecting second because John Dowd's right behind him. Or do you worry about protecting second this early?
Well, you just want to protect yourself from the roost coming off of Larry Ward for one thing, but you got to take into consideration when you take a different line, John Dowd's in striking distance, so if he takes a slower line, Dowd could slide in there and take the spot away. Also, LaRocco won both motos here last year, so if Emmett can get around Larry Ward right now and check out, maybe it'd be tougher for LaRocco to catch him.
He's trying it right there. He tried to dive inside to make the move into the lead, and look, they're neck and neck, but Emig is going to have a slight advantage. They come into the right-hander, and Jeff Emig makes the pass, reaches up, wipes off the vision on his goggles. Emig has now moved into first place. Ward is in second, and look back in that battle for third down, trying to hold off Mike Kudrowski, but Jeff Emig has taken over the point here in the early going. Art Ekman is down in his pits with Steve Butler.
Steve, just a phenomenal race for first place. Lady Luck played a little bit of part of it, but talent also put your man Jeff Emig up on top.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying pretty hard, a few little mistakes, but I think that it was good that it was behind. He was able to test some of his line and just see how fast he was, and hopefully he can pull away.
I don't think he's going to have much success in pulling away. Look at this. We have a 5-bike freight train up front here at Unadilla.
You got the fastest rider with times in the world, #1 rack back there, as I mentioned already, the race defending champion here at Unadilla, stalking these guys and not really able to make up that much time, so that tells me the pace is quick.
And that's exactly what you'd expect when you've got 5 of the best motocross riders in the world doing battle. And by far, this is the best moto so far this year. Jeff Emig out in front. Remember, his first year on the 250s, he's second in points. And you look at that and you say, hey, where's Jeremy McGrath? Well, Jeremy had a little incident with Larry Ward on the first lap, went down, lost a bunch of spots, but he's busy trying to work his way through the field. And there's the message, push early for Mike Kudrowski. That's Brian Lunas. His mechanic, Kudrowski, is trying right now to hold off his Kawasaki Green teammate, Mike LaRocco. But things are shaping up for a really great moto here in #1. Let's go down to the Kawasaki pits with Art Ekman.
Well, Brian, just when I think the desire of Michael Kudrowski is waning, he gets a great start here at Unadilla.
Well, he likes his track. It's more of a natural track than a man-made supercross, and the outdoor races, that's where he excels at. So I think a lot of guys get real excited here that they're real and true outdoor racers.
And to put the signings of 2 young 250 riders like Huffman and Hughes behind him, that's another advantage.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of motivation also. You know, you got to step up to the pace. If you don't, you get run over in this business.
Well, what Art's talking about is Ryan Hughes and Damon Huffman have been signed to the Kawasaki team. Looks like they'll be riding the 250 class. And what's going to happen to Mike Kudrowski? You know, that's going to be a pretty big team, and like Brian said, it's a lot of incentive for him to go out there and go fast. The faster he goes, the better if he wants to keep his ride.
Well, Kudrowski, 26 years old, you got to believe that his career is winding down. I mean, he's won 4 national championships. What more does he have to prove?
Right. I mean, if I had 4 national championships, a title in each class, and a Testarossa in my garage, I might not even show up here.
All right, here's the battle for 4th place right now. Kudrowski's gotten around Dowd, moved into 3rd, and now Dowd's going to have to contend with Kudrowski's teammate, Mike LaRocco. By the way, next year going to the Suzuki camp. There you get a look at the tires there, just the difference with the knobs and stuff.
Well, I think that's just wheels standing by. You see all these guys walking around with headsets. If one of these guys wants to cut a tire on one of those rocks out there, these guys would run it over to the mechanics area and make a wheel change. They can't do it as fast as they do it in something like NASCAR, but they can make that change if it's early in the race.
So that's a big concern here with cutting the tires with the rock getting in there, huh?
Oh, you bet. I mean, the rocks are sharp. It's like shale, and it can cut a tire, and you know, it's hard to ride around the entire race with a flat tire.
Well, we certainly wouldn't want something like that to happen to ruin this great Moto #1. Top 5 riders are almost nose to tail, you could say, and John Dowd still doing a pretty good job holding off Mike LaRocco. There's your leader, Jeff Emig, followed by Larry Ward, Kudrowski, then Dowd, then LaRocco. As you take a look at the top 10 on our Suzuki Field Summary. Back with more from Unadilla in just a minute. Welcome back to Unadilla, New Berlin, New York. Things are really, oh, and look at that. Mike Kudrowski, the 3rd place rider, has fallen down and lost 2 spots.
That's a slick spot right there. Coming into that corner, I've noticed already earlier John Dowd got pretty sideways right there. It's, like I said, when you get down to that rock, or it's more like shale, it's really slick. So it got the better of Mike.
Well, plus there's been a little bit of rain, and it's, I guess it's not really muddy, but let's take another look right here. You see Kedrowski in front.
Right at the top of the screen, actually both wheels washed out. The front wheel, he kind of lost more, but that's just another example of how slick it is. And John Dowd had to go around the outside of him through all that mud, so he did a nice job of getting through there fast.
Well, Dowd has moved back into the third spot. Remember, Kedrowski had gotten around him, and there is LaRocco. Looks like LaRocco's lost a little bit of ground to Dowd.
Well, Dowd, like I said, he had to go around the outside of Kedrowski right through all that mud, held off LaRocco, and has put some time on him. So I would be inclined to think that LaRocco made a mistake somewhere and lost that time. He'll probably gain it back.
Well, LaRocco, of course, last year the overall winner, winning both motos, but right now he's trying to chase down John Dowd. Then he has to worry about Larry Ward before he can get back to the front spot, which at the present time is being held by Jeff Emig. And, man, just the separation between these four bikes, the top four riders, is probably not more than a couple of seconds. They're really tight.
Yeah, no one's able to get away. I thought when Emig got to the lead, he might be able to pull away. Earlier it looked like Larry Ward was going to pull away. They reeled him in, and I got to wonder what this would have been like had McGrath and Bradshaw been able to stay up on the first lap.
Oh, this is great. That would have been fantastic, I would say. But, David, you talked earlier about the lines. Well, let me put that thought on the shelf. We'll go back a little further in the pack. Jeremy McGrath, who had worked his way into ninth just before the break, he's trying to work his way around Kyle Lewis. Kyle also off with a pretty good start, but remember, Jeremy got knocked down as he went into Larry Ward early on in this moto, all the way back to last place, and has had to make his way back through the pack. He's gotten back up into the points, and Emig out in front right now. I don't have my calculator, but I think Emig would either close the gap considerably or maybe even take over the lead as it stands right now if the moto were to end.
Right, I think Jeremy knows that. You know what, just watching Jeremy's rhythm right here, he looks terrible. He doesn't look good at all. He's hitting the holes wrong. He's not in the fastest lines. He's not carrying that much speed. Normally he'd be able to pass Kyle Lewis no problem, and that's got to be a big concern for the Honda camp, because if he doesn't catch up and figure out what these leaders are doing, that's going to be hard for him to find his rhythm in the second motor.
Right now, Larry Ward is trying to chase down Jeff Emig, but John Dowd's right behind him. Let me get back to that thought. You said earlier there are so many different lines. There's not one quick way around this track, is there?
No. I mean, usually there's about a foot-wide path, and that's the fastest. And you hear the guys saying, well, it's one line or it was hard to pass. You won't hear that here at Unadilla.
Well, right now, Emig is out in front, but he's yet to really put on a big lead. But, David, he looks like he's riding really well.
Well, I just like the lines that he's choosing. You saw he just kind of hopped over that hole right there, and he's just putting the bike where he wants. You see right there, he's riding right next to the fence post, looking for grass and smoother lines, and it's paying off.
Well, right now, look at Larry Ward. He is fading. He has dropped all the way back to fourth as John Dowd has gotten around, and then LaRocco gets around just in the matter of a couple of turns. I wonder if Larry's arms are pumped up or what the problem might be.
Well, he did look like as he came around that corner, he wasn't as aggressive as he's been, so it's hard to say. I don't think that his arms would pump up all of a sudden like that, because he's had this pressure the whole moto. It could be bike problems, or he may just made a mistake and lost his rhythm.
Well, he's losing just a little bit of ground as Larry Ward drops all the way back into the fourth spot after running in second. Remember, he led the first few laps of this moto. And there you get a look at, I guess, the wives and the mechanics, or the wives and the girlfriend area.
Right, the girl there in the middle, I noticed she had her fingers crossed. My wife, Gina, used to cross all four of her fingers? All 8 of her fingers. She'd cross some one way and the other one's the other way. Then she'd put her hands together and cross all that and kind of nibble on her thumbs.
What about the toes?
It's a good luck thing for me or not. Well, I don't think she's that much of a contortionist. But at the times when she would do that, I would do well. And she also had a little curse she used to put on some of the other guys, and occasionally that would work.
What was it? A little doll that she would, like a Brock Glover doll, she'd stick needles in?
Actually, it was a little saying she had. It was just like a booga booga kind of a thing, and it actually caused Brock to crash in the last lap one time and gave him the overall win.
Well, look at this. We've got a change of position in the second spot. LaRocco, remember we told you he would be fast. He gets around Dowd, but look, Dowd coming back around, and then Dowd, the bike washes out just a little bit on the berm, and LaRocco gets back around as they are trying to chase down Jeff Emig, but right now they are hot and heavy in this battle for second place.
And LaRocco charged down that downhill, and I can tell you it's tough to get stopped at the bottom. He barely made that corner, and Dowd almost got back by him.
Well, LaRocco is stabilized now in the second spot, at least as stable as we've seen things get here at Unadilla in Moto number 1. There's a look at the top 10. McGrath now moved up to 7th as you look at our Suzuki field summary. Back at Unadilla, closing stages, moto number 1. What has to go down in the books is one of the most exciting motos all year long. Jeff Emig continues to be your leader. Remember, Jeremy McGrath off to a bad start. He is working his way through the pack, but all eyes focused on Emig, and Art Ekman is down in his pits.
Well, Steve, talent has put Jeff Emig in first place, but Lady Luck with McGrath going down helped out. But also, what was wrong with the bike at the very start? They held up the race.
Well, it wasn't actually a problem. It was just a decision that Jeff wanted to change the front tire. We also wanted to change the rear, but I just elected to do the front one, and barely made it back there in time.
All done within the legal time limits. Now, what about this race at point right now?
Well, it's good that Jeff's out in front, and hopefully he can make some points on Jeremy being back there, but Jeremy is still working up, so, and we'll just have to see.
Well, I'm sure that Emig is aware that McGrath is back in the pack and that this is a perfect opportunity for him to make up some points.
Well, it's nice when you're leading the moto and then you come around, they give you a signal board that McGrath crashed in the first lap. Puts a pretty big smile on your face when you're trying to close in on the points lead.
Well, right now, McGrath is in a heated battle. 7th and 8th is up for grabs. And McGrath takes the inside line and gets around Dobb and moves into that 7th place. And David, let's do a little points math right now. 7th place, Emig is running first. That's a differential of 11 points. That would cut McGrath's lead in the championship standings to just 7.
Well, I can guarantee you Jeremy doesn't like it. He's probably fuming under that helmet, and he's put on a pretty good ride coming from nearly dead last. You see the concern of Wes McCoy, that's the team manager at Honda, on the radio. I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm sure he wants to get McGrath up a couple more spots before the end of this moto.
Yeah, I started to say he's not talking to McGrath. They don't have radios riding along on board with them right now. But McGrath has moved back into 7th spot. Emig is out in front. LaRocco has moved into the 2nd spot. But everybody focusing on the ride of Jeremy McGrath as he tries to work his way toward the front. Time now for this week's Honda Riding Tip.
This week we're going to take a look at picking lines and passing. And the most important thing to remember when you're in deep traffic, as you see McGrath right here, is not to follow. You see McGrath right there working his way in and out of those riders. Careful not to follow any of them. Watch LaRocco right here cut out of this berm early. Takes advantage of John Dowd going a little wide. He's able to dodge that roost, take an inside line, and make a clean pass. Next, we're going to watch Greg Albertine work again on John Dowd. He's going to come up the inside. There's no room, so he's going to move to the outside, carry more speed around this sweep. And remember, passing isn't always done under full throttle. Right here under heavy braking, Greg Albertine taking the inside line. Make sure he stays in that berm so that John Dowd can't cut back underneath him. And watch Ryan Hughes right here. He's positioned himself to the inside of Mike Healy right there. Kind of muscles his way into the inside, takes over that better line, and makes the pass. Right here, Jeremy's made the pass on Jeff Emig as they go over the jump down to the corner, but watch Emig. He's going to try and retaliate, cuts back across the inside, getting a little creative there, forces Jeremy into a mistake. He possibly could have retaken that position. Remember, be creative and don't follow.
Well, that's easy for you to say, but Mike LaRocco right now is following Jeff Emig. And Emig, let's see, can't get a good shot of where he is, but he has pulled out a fairly comfortable lead as we get ready to start the final lap of Moto number 1.
And the fact that LaRocco's running in 2nd right here is that's even better news, because that puts Jeremy back one more position. Remember, we've touched on it before, the fact that when LaRocco finishes in between Emig and McGrath, he really affects the points.
Well, McGrath, of course, got off to that good start, then went down and had to fight his way back. He has fought his way back into the top 10, but he's still going to lose some ground in the point standings to this man right here, Jeff Emig, trying to notch another moto victory. I've been very impressed with the way he has performed since coming up from the 125s to the 250s. Checkered flag is out, and Jeff Emig picks up the win here at Unadilla in Moto number 1 with a very, very good performance. Not exactly what you call dominating, but considering how close this moto was, very impressive. LaRocco, Dowd, Kedrowski, McGrath round out your top 5, and as you take a look at the remainder of the top 10, Art Ekman has caught up with the winner.
Well, this is the kind of race, Jeff, you've been waiting for to get a big advantage, and then you took the opportunity and ran with it.
Well, I think that, that all the guys at Yamaha have got my bike set up better than ever here. And, I'm really comfortable in the bumps, really comfortable over the big jump, too. The bike's just working awesome, and it's letting me ride, relaxed, and then I can think about, riding a race and not really think about, whether my arms are going to pump or whether I'm going to get tired. I feel great. As let's line him up for the second moto.
No changes second moto?
Probably not. No, I mean, maybe we'll put a little bit of a compression, in the rear because it is going to get really, really rough. But outside that, everything's good.
And everything going quite well for the defending national champion, Mike LaRocco. He comes home in second place.
Salary drive time, Mike LaRocco. Nice run here at Unadilla.
Yeah, not really quite what I had planned. That was a good position to win that. I waited around too early in the race, following and taking some roost. So I have to get out there, turn it up earlier, the second moto, and get this overall.
That's the big thing right now, the overall, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty much out of the points title, so overall is the only thing that make me happy. So
another trophy in the case.
Another trophy.
All right, we will be back with the start of Moto number 2 right after this. Welcome back to Unadilla, and tell you what, folks, at the end of the 125, it poured rain, a monsoon, for about 5 minutes, and they're trying to get the track back into shape here for Moto number 2.
Well, there's a lot of deep stuff in the first corner, and when that gets all soaked, all those riders come charging in there 60 miles an hour. It's pretty tough. So they're just trying to skim that off, keep the first turn safe, and that's really going to drastically change the racetrack.
Well, Emig, of course, was late getting his bike for the first moto. They were making some tire changes, some tire choices, and with this rain, that makes it even more important to get the right tire, doesn't it?
Well, I can guarantee you there's no question in anybody's mind what the track's going to be like. You can see right there they're trying to do everything they can, at least put some dry dirt in their starting rut so they can at least get off the gate good. But once they get over the gate, it's going to be muddy. There's water in the water puddles in all the holes and ruts. And, Jeremy, he seems to have done pretty good in the mud, but I think riders like John Dowd, possibly LaRocco, they really seem to shine in the mud. And Jeff Emig right there just getting another sip of water, make sure he's hydrated, who seemed to have things dialed in the first moto. The track's totally different now, so he's going to have to relearn it.
Let me ask you something. Maybe this could be a Honda riding tip as you look at Damon Bradshaw as he's getting set. When you've got all this mud in the starting gate, what do you do differently as a rider with your weight placement so you get some traction?
Well, you kind of do sort of what they did at Southwick when they started on the cement starting grid where you don't hook up as well. As soon as you get over the gate, you're going to get into more slimy stuff, and you don't lean forward as much. You kind of want to sit up a little straighter and put more weight on the rear wheel, hopefully hook up.
Well, let's see who gets the whole shot this time. We're just about set to drop the gate on the start of Moto number 2.
John Dowd looked like he missed a shift right there, so he's already well back in the pack.
Well, John Dowd had a great ride in Moto number 1, and look at that. Jeremy McGrath scoots out to the front. And look at Damon Bradshaw. As Jeremy went wide, Bradshaw gets the whole shot, and look how covered with mud these riders are headed into the first turn. And look at Damon. He is clean. This is definitely you don't want to follow right now, do you?
No, you don't. And
oh, look at that. Bradshaw gets squirrely, comes off the bike, and oh, it wasn't quite a face plant. I don't know what kind of a plant you would call that, but Bradshaw goes down and McGrath squirts out in front.
What a break for Jeremy right there, because Bradshaw would have been tough to get around, and I think Jeremy would have been covered just like those riders at mid-pack. But now clean vision, clean sailing, nobody in front of him, and he can just get everybody else muddy.
Well, there's Jeremy McGrath, the leader, and you can see he's already got some mud on him from the start from being behind Bradshaw, and behind him the number plate is all mudded up, but as he comes around 15, Kyle Lewis, hey, he's off to a pretty good start.
And I think I got a glimpse of Emig just off to the right of the screen there, so here's another look back at what happened to Damon. Everything was going good. He goes and tries to find a rut in his front wheel. It looked like it kind of got cross-rutted right there. It's a real tricky little section, and a really awkward place to fall, too. It's going to take him a while to get going, and since that's so early in the race, he'll probably be dead last when he restarts.
Man, you just have to feel sorry for Damon. I figured by this point of the season, with him coming back, that he would be the rider to beat, or maybe one of the riders to beat, but he just has not had a lot of luck.
No, I figured as well. Another guy
rider goes down.
Looks like Larry Ward right there having his problems. Lost the front end, and it's really deceiving because there's places where it looks like you can get into a rut and hook up, but it's really slick underneath all that loam.
Oh, man, I tell you what, this is just a mess, isn't it? That couldn't have happened at a worse time. And look, Ward, we found out after the first moto he was having some ignition problems. That's why we saw him dropping back. And there you've got a good shot of Jeff Emig, and just look at all the mud. And coming around him, that was LaRocco, wasn't it, to pass him for position?
It looked like LaRocco just had a good line, squared it, kind of like what we saw in the riding tip. Moving up the inside, you can see he's trying to reach up and clear his vision while he's riding through this mess, and it looked like he might have lost that position back to Emig.
Yeah, Emig gets around LaRocco. It looks like not only do you have to deal with this slick stuff, oh man, look at him going into that
Well, I
turn.
can't believe he made the turn. He almost took Emig with him.
Oh boy. But also this mud gets on you. It gets on your helmet. It gets on the handlebars. It just changes your whole complexion, doesn't it?
Well,
so to speak. Like
no
a mud
pun
bath.
intended. Yeah, you know what happens is you get really heavy. I mean, your pants get heavy and your pants start coming down. If you have a chest protector on, I've had the chest protector in my lap during the whole race. There was so much mud on it.
And Jeremy McGrath having a little bit of a problem there. Kyle Lewis is in second place. Jeff Emig is in third. He is, oh, look at that back wheel almost wash out. We're in the early stages of the mud bath of Moto number 2. Here's a look at the Honda field summary. Welcome back to Unadilla, and the best sight this season, Doug Henry back at the track after that horrifying crash at Budds Creek. Art Ekman has more on his recovery.
The fans here at Unadilla flocked to their favorite riders, standing in line for autographs, but there was no one who was received with more joy and adulation than Doug Henry, who made a surprise appearance.
Hey Doug, good to see you.
For those of us who witnessed the accident only 6 weeks prior, it was like a miracle to see him walking and smiling as if nothing had happened.
I've just never really been a quitter, and I'm not going to quit motocross just because of this, because you know, the doctors say that everything will heal fine, and it's just one of those little setbacks. The accident wasn't a big deal for me. You know, I fell, I hurt my back, my legs were moving, and everything was moving, so I felt fine. I just thought, you know, I hurt my butt or something. I didn't really know how bad it was until 2 days after when they did an MRI, and then you could see the damage, and then I was a little nervous, but I mean, I've done a lot of crazy things in my life, and I've come really close to doing stuff, so it's just another one of those things where you just go, that was close.
So what they did now is put a cage here to replace it, and then there's a metal plate with 2 screws in the T12 and 2 screws in the L2. That fastens it all together and is keeping it stable. So it's only three vertebrae fused together.
The one hospital I was at, they wanted to just go ahead and stick a rod through my back and fuse 6 vertebrae, and she wasn't comfortable with that. She knew that she could find someone better, and she worked really hard.
I had a lot of help from the industry. You know, people were calling Eric Kehoe, David Bailey. They were giving me calls and giving me leads to follow as far as second opinions.
I'm hoping to come back for the beginning of the season, but it's right now it's too early to tell. You know, because of the healing and the muscle work. I'm not going to come back till I'm 100%, and I really appreciate all my sponsors, especially Honda and Fox, for supporting me, you know, through this whole thing. And they say no matter what happens, they're behind me all the way. So if I don't make the beginning of the season, they'll take me in, you know, when I'm ready.
Well, it sure is good to see Doug back out there smiling. Apparently, there's not much you can do to Doug to keep him from smiling, and the crowd happy to see him. And I think he got probably one of the best operations, and probably be out there again. Surprised.
Very surprising. It's unbelievable. 6 weeks ago, and now Doug is back at the racetrack. Well, we're in the mud bath still, and look at Jeff Emig having problems negotiating that turn. Here comes LaRocco in right behind him. This is the 3rd place battle. Kyle Lewis is still holding down the 2nd spot. Of course, Jeremy is out front. Here's another look at this.
Well, I don't know how these guys are getting stopped coming down this hill. I mentioned already once how steep this downhill is. I thought it was a joke when they ran the banners down this hill. And you can see LaRocco coming in with the same problems, and they don't have much room to turn. If they go over that berm, they go down into a swamp. So they've got just a short little shelf there of level ground where they can make that turn and get back up the hill.
And, man, it's unbelievable that they would actually be racing side by side in this stuff. But look at LaRocco. He gets around Jeff Emig and takes over that 3rd spot. Mike LaRocco with a nice, smooth move there. I guess he picked the least slippery line to make that pass.
Well, he's definitely riding aggressive. In that section where he made the pass, it didn't even look like he was affected by the mud. It looked like he was going just as fast as he did in the first moto. And we're going to get another look at it. Emig come out of the corner right here. You can see that it's starting to get real choppy in the main line because everyone's riding that dry line and it just beats it to death, so it gets even rougher. LaRocco right here on the inside doesn't really have that good of a line. He just real aggressive, and right here just kind of cuts across Emig, finds himself a little bit of a berm there, and Emig, I don't think there's really much he could do about that. He's going as fast as he can, trying to keep it on 2 wheels, and LaRocco rode right by.
Well, there's Kyle Lewis going just as fast as he can and almost gets off the seat right there, but he is holding down the second spot, trying to chase down Jeremy McGrath. Well, let's check into the pits with Art Ekman.
Once again, the Kawasaki crew is asking LaRocco to come in and put fresh goggles on. The crew wants to keep second place. Here comes Emig, and LaRocco holds down second place just in front of Jeff Emig. The quickest goggle change I've ever seen in my life, Mike.
We messed it up. I don't think we got the strap on right.
Well, I can tell you, as he took off, the strap was down around the bottom of his helmet, and that would bother the heck out of me. And at least he didn't make any predictions, John.
Oh, you're terrible. Back in the battle for 5th place, James Dobb being followed by Mike Kudrowski. And yeah, that is Kudrowski on the inside, the number 7 number plate. And he gets around Dobb. It looks like Dobb said, I'm not going to contest this. I'm satisfied with where I am right now. It's still kind of early in this moto. Maybe he can make some time up. But Kudrowski has moved around into the 5th spot.
Well, Dobb was in that same line that LaRocco used to make his pass, but just couldn't quite go as fast as LaRocco did in that same line. Look, right here, Mike's looking good. He looks pretty aggressive. I mean, all these guys are going to get out of shape. You can see right there, just trying to stay in that rut takes, I can't even tell you the kind of balance it takes to try to stay in that rut, try to see, try to keep the bike in the right gear, keep your feet on the pegs. I mean, it's just impossible to ride in this stuff. And the fact these guys are going as fast as they are is pretty impressive.
Well, you really have to concentrate in these type of conditions or you're going to dump it. And that, along with how tough this racetrack is, can really tire you out. So we might see some guys fade toward the end. Here's a look at your Honda Field Summary. Back with more from Unadilla right after this. Time now for this week's Suzuki Flashback. And we go back to the rocky terrain of Unadilla, caused quite a problem for defending national champion Mike Kudrowski in 1994 as he was roosted by a rock, broke the finger out for most of the rest of the season.
And Jeremy McGrath's first season on the 250, riding a pretty strong race right here in 3rd place, but watch right there. He hits a hay bale coming up the uphill, bent the handlebars and remounted for a 37th place finish in Moto number 1.
Of course, Jeff Stanton on his farewell tour, giving the fans something to cheer about. He went head-to-head with Mike LaRocco, and they would swap the lead, LaRocco and Stanton, in a great battle.
2 of the toughest riders on the circuit, 2 of the fittest riders on the circuit doing battle on this rough racetrack.
But in the end, LaRocco would come away sweeping the checkered flag in both motos, and with Kudrowski out, virtually locked up the championship. Now back to Unadilla 1995. LaRocco trying to chase down Kyle Lewis to take over the 2nd spot. Remember, LaRocco finished 2nd in Moto number 1. McGrath is up in the lead right now. He finished 5th in Moto number 1. So LaRocco, if he can nail down that 2nd spot, he can come away with the overall victory.
Well, it seems inevitable. He's going so much faster than everybody, and right there,
look at that.
There's that same outside line. He came into it from the outside, but apparently able to go wherever he wants on the racetrack. And the key to riding fast in this kind of conditions is just momentum. You know, as soon as you slow down your momentum and try to build speed, you get a lot of wheel spin, and you can't get over the bumps. Your rhythm is out, and boy, he's just got so much momentum. Look at the distance he's already put on Lewis in just a matter of like 50 yards.
In 2nd place right now is LaRocco, and almost loses it right there. That's going to take a little momentum from you, among other things.
Actually, you know what? Normally it would, but not out of LaRocco. Oh, he stalls
look at that.
it.
He stalls. The bike has to look how quickly he gets it refired. Lewis trying to take advantage of it, but he just can't get the spot. Man, oh man, that's unbelievable, David.
This guy's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on going. There's nothing you can do to slow him down. He just goes, he doesn't even care what line he's in as long as his speed is up. We're going to take another look. He just comes down the hill, probably gets on the brakes a little bit too hard, and he gets into that berm there, just doesn't quite get into it just right, and not sure why that stalled. Maybe he just didn't have his fingers on the clutch, but restarted it pretty quick and still held on to that spot. Lewis is probably Probably wondering, geez, then the guy almost crashes and stalls the engine and I still can't pass him? What's wrong with me?
A little further back, you get a look at Jeff Emig, and look at the way he's trying to chase down. I guess that is...
Looks like John Dowd.
Yeah, it is John Dowd, and Emig is the rider on the outside, I believe, and Emig looked like he was trying to get some of the mud off his visor, maybe a little bit off of his goggles, as the vision has to be very, very bad, very limited out there.
Well, as that mud piles up on the top of your helmet gets so heavy, especially up onto the visor, that it actually pushes your visor down in front of your face, then it pushes your goggles down. And speaking of goggles, Dowd doesn't have any. Remember, he missed a gear right out of the starting gate, took off. You know, he went into the first corner just about last, and what a good ride for him, especially without goggles.
Yeah, what do you do without goggles? I mean, you've got to be, that mud has to get into your eyes.
It does. He's not going to be too comfy after this race. I'm sure they're going to have to dig mud out of his eyes for a while. And you can see there is another classic example of just going fast in whatever line it takes, trying to maintain your momentum. And Dowd, a nice ride coming from so far back.
Well, Jeremy McGrath so far is having a pretty nice ride as he is out in front. In fact, he's got a really nice lead on everybody. And we talked about how the points differential between Emig and McGrath was narrowed to 9 points after the first moto. Now it's Jeremy's turn to make some of that back up.
Well, he's going to. I don't know if he's going to make it all back up, but he's definitely going to redeem himself with a second moto win and they put a little exclamation point on the day. Although, you know, I mean, he crashed in the first corner and came from dead last just about. So I think although Emig made up a few points, he's got to wonder what he's got to do to keep this guy down.
You got to wonder how Jeremy likes riding in the mud. I mean, he's this high-flying guy.
Well, he's still flying. He's just not flying high. There's not really any jumps at Unadilla anyway. But Jeremy has proven his versatility this year by doing well in all the conditions.
Right now, McGrath is your leader in Moto number 2, followed by LaRocco, Lewis, Dowd, and Jeff Emig as you get a look at the top 10 on our Honda Field Summary. The white flag is out here at Unadilla for the final lap of Mudbath 95. Here's the battle for third place, Kyle Lewis and John Dowd. And Dowd making up some ground here, trying to get that third spot.
Well, he's making up ground, but Kyle Lewis is having a good run here. This is one of his, got to be his best finish so far this year.
Well, you're exactly right. He's in third right now. 12th at Gainesville, 7th Hangtown, 9th Mount Morris, 9th Budds Creek, 6th Southwick, 8th at Redbud, 9th at Troy. So, yeah, like the way I always have that information just to throw out there, don't you, David?
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
And you're supposed to offer the expert commentary. And we once again are on the final lap. Jeremy McGrath has got a really good lead right now. This is the battle for third place. LaRocco is in second. Kyle Lewis is in third. And he is being chased by Dowd.
And Dowd, I like the way this guy rides in the mud. I wonder why he can't ride that good the rest of the time. Look at how fast he goes around that corner right there. And he switches from the inside line back out to the outside line. Now it switches back to the inside again. He just goes wherever he wants. Look at the momentum. And you see how he kind of sits a little straighter up. He sits a little further back on the seat than most guys, and he hooks up better in the slick stuff.
Well, now they're coming around some of the lapped riders, and that could come into play as Dowd tries to chase down this third spot. But last time you were telling me that riding in the mud is all mental attitude. Maybe Dowd has...
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you just have to like it. You know, I mean, if you don't like the mud, and you're sitting on the starting line, it's raining, and you're just going, man, I hate this. You know, chances are things aren't going to go your way. But if you just go out there and have a good time and get aggressive and just kind of wing it, which is exactly what it looks like Dowd is doing. And remember, Dowd's doing this without goggles.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Look at that. You can see Kyle Lewis has the goggles on. Dowd does it side by side momentarily. And it looks like Dowd just about washed out coming down that hill. But he has a battle on his hands as he can come up the hill. He's going to try the outside. Lewis neck and neck, and now Dowd gets around momentarily. They'll go into this turn. Lewis to the high side, Dowd to the low side, down the hill. Lewis still maintaining that third spot. Let's see if Dowd can get a bite coming out of here. No, it doesn't. Well, he does get a much better bite than Kyle Lewis. Is he going to keep that spot? Dowd moves around Lewis into the third spot, and that was a nice pass there.
Man, you can't say he didn't earn that one.
Oh, no kidding. Checkered flag is out, and Jeremy McGrath raises the left hand and says, yes, came away with the victory. Going to add, going to make up some ground in the points. As now here's the battle for that third spot, and it will go to Dowd, followed by Kyle Lewis. Mike LaRocco has already come across in the second position. There you get a look at the top 5. McGrath, LaRocco, Dowd, Kyle Lewis. And as you look at the remainder of the top 10, Art Ekman is down in the pit area, and he has caught up with the winner, Jeremy McGrath.
Well, Jeremy being out in front cuts down one major problem for most of the time, and that's vision.
Yeah, that's for sure. It was definitely muddy out there, and you know, I was feeling a bit tired after first moto because I had to catch up so far from behind, but you know, I was drinking my Cytomax in between motos and got some strength back.
Another sponsor, another endorsement.
Yeah, that's a new one I picked up this year, and you know, my man Iron, he's hooking me up, and you know, this stuff really works good.
Jeremy, I want to ask you about the tremendous race, though. With the rain coming down there for a moment, you really had to kind of be careful.
Yeah, that was about 3 laps from the end. It started raining again, maybe 4, and it was really nothing different from the first 5 laps. I mean, it was pretty darn muddy out there the first 5 laps, and I was just trying to keep on 2 wheels. Kyle was on me there for a while, and you know, finally I started finding some lines and started picking up some time, and that gave me confidence.
Well, you didn't win the overall, but you picked up points, and that's the big advantage.
Well, that's what I was worried about after first moto. I mean, 5th is not so good, and it's always nice to come out with a win. And you know, I've been winning some motos this year, so you know, all I got to do, we got 4 more races, and you know, I want to be in there.
Well, McGrath with a 5th in the first, gets 2nd overall, but look at that. Mike LaRocco, a steady ride, 2nd in the first moto, 2nd in the second, and that earns him the overall victory. And speaking of LaRocco, he's with Art.
Well, it's unusual to see someone stop with 3rd place right on your tail to get new goggles, but the conditions out there warranted it.
Yeah, I got a really bad start, and you know, it was like riding into a black hole in the first turn. I couldn't see. I pulled the tear off, so, you know, as much as I could, and you know, as safe as I could. But you know, my goggles were really bad. I had a hard time seeing. You know, I really couldn't ride without them.
But after you got them on, after a little skirmish with Emig, you were able to take off.
Yeah, I just needed to see a little bit, find out where I was going, and try and stay on that dry line.
Well, you get to take a trophy home.
Yeah, I finally got overall, but that's not really the way I like to win, but I'll take it today.
Well, remember, after moto number 1, Jeff Emig had closed the gap to 9 points. Well, with Jeremy McGrath coming back to win moto number 2 and Emig finishing 6th, the lead is now 19.
Well, Emig's got to wonder what he's got to do to catch up to Jeremy. I mean, he had a golden opportunity today. Jeremy crashing in the first turn, and Emig's got the speed to go and win motos, but Jeremy's still able to put points on him. That's got to hurt his hopes.
Congratulations to overall winner Mike LaRocco. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.